Let me put it this way. I like it. I like it a lot. I hear a tide turning. But over that sound is the sound of the new Hyundai i20 trying its best to make its voice heard. Should the i20 excite you though? Can it be your next daily driver despite its hefty price tag? Can it raise its voice loud enough for you to take notice? That's exactly the kind of questions we're asking of the new i20 today. Now, one place that Hyundai does not need to worry about is the looks department. I remember when I first saw the car in the preview, I absolutely loved the way it looked. But you guys and the internet in general was awash with comments about how it just didn't click. Now I know it's extremely subjective, but one look at the Hyundai i20 in the flesh and you'll change your mind instantly. It's funny, I remember comments like this being thrown about when the Venue was launched, and we all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
The dissonance is probably because of the way the new i20 has been styled. It looks a lot more low-slung. The way the bonnet slopes down towards the nose, the blacked-out roof, and the comparatively low positioning of the tail lamps makes it feel like the i20 has gotten smaller. The truth, however, is that it's gotten longer overall, wider overall, and the wheelbase has gone up too. This is not small at all. And that shows on the inside so well because it feels like a big car. I can move my arm around freely without having to worry about elbowing my co-passenger right here. And even the seats, they're top-notch. As to how they will hold up on long distances, I'm not so sure right now because, well, this is just a first drive, but stay tuned, that'll come soon. The one gripe I have is that Hyundai could have made a little bit more of an effort to make the dash feel a little more premium. Honestly, dual tones would have gone a long way in making the cabin feel a little more airy, and on top of that, these plastics, they feel a little inferior. And as for the equipment list, it's long, exhaustively so. There's wireless charging, a 10.25-inch touchscreen, an all-digital instrument cluster, an electric sunroof, an air purifier with an AQI readout. It goes on, honestly. There are, however, a few things that have baffled me, honestly. A quick dive into the brochure made me realize a few things. Now, if you pick the Astra option diesel, you're essentially getting the full bouquet of features on offer for the i20. But, and this is the big one, you're paying roughly 2.5 lakh rupees more than you would on an Altroz in the XZ option diesel trim. Now, what that 2.5 lakh rupees gets you is 4 more airbags, TPMS, LED headlamps, and a sunroof, yes. But yikes, that's not justified. Even once you figure the addition of a turbo petrol DCT option in the Altroz, it's still a premium of around 1 lakh. It just doesn't make sense. And another thing, Hyundai does offer ISOFIX mounts for the rear seat, but confusingly enough, it's only on the top trim. It just feels like we've come to a point where stuff like adjustable headrests, a rear washer wiper, and ISOFIX mounts should be made standard fitment. It's basic stuff right now. Now, before I lose track of time, let me just quickly tell you what the rear seat space is like. As I mentioned earlier, the Hyundai i20, it's grown, so that means it's now longer and wider. And that does translate to more space at the back. As you can see, there's plenty of leg room, plenty of headroom, just about enough thigh support, but it could have been better. And the seat backs, well, they're a little firm, but they're not uncomfortable by any yardstick. Now, can you fit 3 people at the back? As it turns out, yes you can. But I wouldn't advise it, especially for longer drives. Social distancing, come on. What I really want is for the i20 to drive well. And let me just start with what we've got today. Right now I'm driving the 1.2 naturally aspirated petrol, and that's paired to a 5-speed gearbox. Now the ride is absolutely sublime on this. You can go over potholes with absolute ease. In fact, after a while you just start kind of hunting them out. You're just like, come at me bro, let's just see what you got. It's actually that much fun. And once you get to a bend, things get a little bittersweet. I say bittersweet because the chassis seems like it can handle so much more than what it's being fed. And honestly, this gearbox and engine combo is to blame because it just feels wheezy after a while. Now, what I can't wrap my head around is why Hyundai is still persisting with the 1.2 litre naturally aspirated option in the first place. You know what? Just ignore that one. Go for the 1 liter turbo petrol. I drove it earlier today, and let me honestly say that it makes use of the chassis so much better. Now, I wouldn't go so far as to call it a properly hot hatch, but let me put it this way. I like it. I like it a lot. This feels a lot livelier than the Venue, and let me remind you, that was no slouch either. Hyundai claims that the 1 liter turbo petrol with the DCT will do 0 to 100 kph in 9.9 seconds, and I have no issues believing them on that. That'll do. That'll do just fine. It kind of fits in well that there's only an IMT and DCT option too for the turbo. The IMT is a great gearbox, and there's just that tiny bit of refinement left to make it comparable to a manual gearbox. It works just right here. The new Hyundai i20. I really like it. Hand on heart, I would recommend this to anyone who has the kind of budget that is similar to this. Initially though, my question was, who would buy an i20 if you have a Sonnet and a Venue in the same price bracket? The fact of the matter is that if you're out to buy a car and you're looking for a compact SUV, very little that I say can change your mind. This is for the rest of us. The Hyundai i20 is great because it looks great, it's really fun to drive. It's not an enthusiast car, but it's fun to drive. Packed with features, and honestly, if you can just overlook the fact that at the end of the day, you're not going to be towering over everyone else on the road while driving, this is the car for you. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you haven't already, like, share and subscribe. Until then, I'm out.